So I entered into therapy, and it was awkward. They told me that I could not talk. I had to wait not only 1 week, but 3 weeks. I couldn't confess anything. I just had to listen to people. So I was like, alright. So I just observed. The first 2 weeks were awful. I was in sweats, tossing and turning at night, waking up constantly screaming. My clothes would get wet. I'd have to change them. My bed would get wet. I had to change that every single night. Because the alcohol inside me was coming out. I was sweating it out. It was not fun at all. I'd wake up and I'd be like, where am I? Where am I? And I realized I'm in therapy at the hospital, but it was awful. So I went through. The third week, I was finally able to say something. So I awkwardly said my name. And I kept on raising my hand, and they would say, no, 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 you can't talk. I'm like, alright. I would go to AA meetings, on campus and off campus. And they would provide an interpreter. And everyone was at a different level or a different age. You had young, old people, middle-aged people. And some stories were worse than mine, and some were no big deal. Everyone was at a different stage in their life. Some were sober for a few months, some were sober for many years. Just a variety of people. But the one thing we all had in common was we all had an alcohol problem. And I learned, step one, that I can't control my life. And so I'd work on it. An interpreter would go to the meetings, and I'd continue learning. And I finished a month of therapy, and I didn't really know what to do. I was out in the world. It was a little bit awkward. And so I went to what they call a halfway house. They had about 40 members there, all living in one house. So I went there, and their meetings didn't have any interpreters except for one meeting a week. That was it. All the other meetings didn't have no interpreter at all. But it didn't matter to me. I wanted to get my life better and back on track and be sober. And all the drugs and all the alcohol and negativity in my life I had to get rid of. So I didn't care if there was an interpreter or not. I'd just go to the meetings. Coffee, I didn't like coffee, but it helped. So I would have coffee and, it didn't matter. I did the 90-90, which is 90 meetings in 90 days. But they also have 180. Sometimes I went to 3 and 4 meetings a day because I was that determined to get my life back on track. I'd go to lectures and listen to them. It was hard to understand, but I felt safe there. Everyone else could relate to me. Out in the real world, there's temptation, and I did not need to be around that. So I'd go to the meetings. I'd bring my big book and I'd read it, and I'd read the chapters, and then I'd try to watch their lips and read their lips. It was hard, but I'd sit in the front row, just getting whatever I could get out of it. And I felt safe at the meetings there. I go to AA meetings, NA meetings, Narcotics Anonymous. I go to any meetings I could go to. As soon as work was over, I'd go straight to the meetings again. And it really helped me. I actually got a sponsor. The first one I was not happy with, so I decided to get 2 sponsors. It was hard for me at the time because there was no way to contact them. So we struggled with communication. Today we have video phones and all that, but back in the day we didn't have anything. We only had TTY, and it was hard to use with them, and so I decided to get 2 sponsors. That way when the contact failed with one, I would have a backup ready. And man, were they strict. They were on me constantly. So I would go through the steps. I went through step 1, 2, and I got to step 3, and I got stuck. Because it said, made decision to turn our lives over to the care of God as we understood Him. But I didn't understand the God part, so I skipped step 3. It didn't really matter. They got onto me, but I continued, and I went 4 through 10. Later, I finally understood the God part, and I finished step 3. By that time, I didn't understand it, so I had to skip it. Oops, I mean. So I continuously went to meetings, and slowly my life started to change. I started to improve. It wasn't a fast process. I'd often think about going back to my old lifestyle, and I always thought that I'd mess up again, but I have a heart problem. If I continued to drink, I would die. My doctor tested my liver, and some long words, yeah, I don't know. But basically I have liver damage, and if I was to continue drinking for 2 or 3 months, I would eventually die. So I stopped just in time, and that forever stayed with me. If I had a few more drinks, I would die from liver damage. So it was tempting, going into parties. I would sit there and I would think about joining in, and then I would leave. I got by just by the skin of my teeth. It was very frustrating and the communication was hard, but I had to continue going, and I had to continue being clean and sober, period. That was it. Tomorrow, who knows what tomorrow had for me, Once tomorrow comes, I will face it. But right now, my theory is I need to face it every day at a time. One day at a time. 1 year, 2 years, little by little, it'll become a little bit easier. It's not a fast process. It's a slow process. 3 years, 4 years, you continuously go to meetings every day. You have to go to one. And every once in a while I'd meet a deaf person, and, I'd meet them and they would leave and then they would come, but it had to be, AA was consistent. They would show me positively, they would help me, and I tried coffee one time, it was awful, but anyways, my old life, I had to turn from that and focus on the years to come. And time after time, little by little, I did improve. For 22 years now, I have been clean. And, I don't feel perfect. Every once in a while I'll have temptations, yes, because I have a problem. We have a problem. Money, family, work, friends, strangers. We all have pressures. Economy, military, war, school, children. Those all affect me. And it's natural. That's normal. It's okay. To follow the temptation, that's not okay. Because if I went back and I had one drink, I would die. So I have to stay away from that. I want to enjoy my life. I want to be sober, clean. It's important to help other people with their problems as well. Looking back now, the therapy people helped me. And now it's my turn to help other people. That's how it is in AA. It's a circle. They help me, I help them. It's not going to be perfect, they'll have to continue going back to rehab and everything, but people gave me positivity and help, and so it's a circle. God helped me. People in AA, God helped them. DODA helped me. And I'm helping people become sober and clean. I'm clean of alcohol, clean of drugs. My life is better. It's not perfect. But I feel okay. I feel alright. I gotta keep positive, one day at a time, and I'll be okay. Thank you for listening to my story. Thank you.